Hi, Nicole. Nicole is our next open mic reader. She'll be heading up our final open mic bracket tonight. Nicole's eco-poetic work, so we continue in a theme, has appeared in journals, anthologies, and a co-authored collection published last year by Girls on Key Press. She's currently researching contemporary eco-spiritual poetry at the University of Newcastle. So indeed, a very fitting follow on from the session we've just had. Thanks, Nicole, over to you.
Thank you, Rose, and congratulations, Anne, on your new collection. It's great to be here on Awabakal country tonight at equinox. And my poem is set on a bush track near where I live. It's called Wetland Triptych. Understory. After rain comes my jog of corroboree frogs flipping their lids, of bubbling pulse, of rolling boil, of Burralong repopulation, of fertile on-off click switches, of wooden clapsticks, of stuttered sun ceremony, of grass orchestration, of green-thighed accelerant bush hopping whir, of squashed cane toad, of hidden reed finches, of mud puddle chain, of tea tree leaves. Mid-story. Sticky sneakers tattoo asphalt, my cheeks vibrate, my spine spirals shock-absorbed bounce, my edible nasturtiums flank toxic castor oil stars, my open-mouthed connection continuous, my internal-external microbes colonize my permeability end to end. My territorial breath exchange coats paper barks in invisible carbon ions. My alkaloid secretions drip organic. My oxygenated blood pumps my legs alive. Overstory. Does a corroboree frog worship its swamp mahogany, climb its luminous limbs, tusk its fleshy black seeds? Does its banjo croak crack summon up gnats, its bell ward off black cockatoos, its bare flame trees scratch sky, its flagrant kangaroo paws blaze on blue, its ghost gum cluster halts me, its sandpaper gust sways me, its shimmer level blinds me, its transcendent sea eagle circles its perch. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. That was really lovely. I really enjoyed that. Thank you very much. Okay, our next reader in the open mic is Alexandra Saropoulou. I hope I'm saying that correctly, Alexandra. Alexandra is a Greek poet and a graphic illustrator, and she's joining us from Greece tonight. So over to you, Alexandra.
Thank you. This is Flying 12 from the Flying series. If you are looking for the supreme resurrection of a passion, try finding it in a vision's flare. Volcanoes lava erupting from Earth's womb. Battle cry, heroic exodus. Breaking all boundaries, achieving the impossible. Invisible and visible entities striving to rise above life and death. Above narrow values, widening narrow paradises. Wider and wider along the protean journey. Monad, dyad, antithesis and new synthesis. From each center expanding and fulfilling discovery and power. If you are looking for the finest quality of a creation, try finding it in a divine spark. Immortality's rays enlightening mortals' minds. Etheric gastric bodies, everlasting vitality. Outgrowing every ugliness, guided by beauty. Thoughts, words, arts, giving birth to glorious civilizations. Challenging horizons, freeing from disillusions, freer and freer along the expansion of Genesis. Logic, principles, discipline, and equals. Wisdom constructing justice, wholeness, and completion. If you are looking for the sweet manifestation of a miracle, try finding it in the human heart flame. Vibrations as rhymes synchronizing with universe's euphony. Endless cycles of sorrow and joy. Hope's momentum waning and flaxing. Waterfalls of emotions plunging down the steep cliffs of our existence. Light brightening through darkness, brighter and brighter along our sacred friendships. Seasons, leaves, flowers, and patterns. Warding off evil, regenerating, harmonizing, strength and immunity. If you are looking for the archetype of a deity, try finding it in the human soul flame. Earth's devotion, endlessly rotating sun's source. The great absolute energy, propeller of all life, whirlpooling through humans and stars. Seas of sunlight uniting with skies of fire. Stellar symbols heightening cosmic chants. Higher and higher along the mystic path. Water, earth, air, fire, and ideas. Worlds and heavens dividing and uniting in divine proportions. If you are looking for the magical journey of a flight, try finding it in an inner euphoria. Mystical self-revelations taking us up to Empyrean worlds. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alexandra. Wow, what a hypnotic experience that was. I felt absolutely drawn into it. Thank you very much. Our next reader tonight is Marie McMillan. Let's just get the excuse me, I'll just Marie, are you there? You with us, Marie? Let's remove the spotlight from Alexandra, hoping that we have Marie. I can't see. You speak, Marie, and then you might spotlight.
Thank you. I'm feeling very verdant and arboreal after all those wonderful poems. So thank you, Rose. And Elvie, I felt I was interleafed with the divine, and lovely hearing Peter Larkin's influence on you. And John Ryan, loved hearing about photopoetics. My poem is called Amber's Strip, or Stripping Amber. My clothes, they fall in the gutter, my garments of amber and gold. I always disrobe in public, dropping my sap-sodden stole, baring my ligneous arms, my ruff of crimson and russet, my skirt of swirling orange, slowly sliding, piedly teasing, insouciantly falling as I sway in the languor of my strip, eyed by panting Aeolus. His heavy breathing whip strips me bare, shears me of my liquidity, tints and tinctures, remnants of last season's haute couture, and leaves me breathless, shivering in my arboreal nudity. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. Thank you very much. We didn't plan that, did we? All that arboreal ligneous connection. Now, I'm sorry, we didn't have, we loved listening to you, but we weren't able to see you then. So hopefully next time we'll be able to get that camera working. Okay, our next open mic poet is Jeff Cottrell. Jeff, I think, yes, we've got an image. Jeff is a performance poet and a novelist based in Toronto, Canada. He's headlined literary series throughout Canada, the UK, and the US since 2001. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Rose. And thank you, Rose. And yes, I'm hoping to get to Australia in person at some point next year. So this is called An Honest Proposal. It's an early Valentine poem. My dear, my love, please accept my hand in marriage. There's nothing more romantic I can think of. Just think of it. Think of the lovely life we'll share. Think of the rapturous wedding we'll hold. Think of the passionate honeymoon. Think of the limitless lovemaking. Think of the joy of stepping into our first house. Think of the tears we'll shed when our first child is born. Think of the pride we'll feel watching our child grow up. Think of the slightly fewer tears we'll shed when our second child is born. Think of the stretch marks you'll have. Just think of it. Think of the years of family dinners spent together. Think of the birthday parties and Christmas mornings. Think of the endless school hockey games and plays. Think of the countless sibling fights we'll break up. Think of the disappointing report cards. Think of the minimal amount of tears we'll shed when our third child is born. Think of the neglect our middle child will suffer. Think of the times our middle child will act out because of our neglect. Think of the moment the cop will tell us our middle child has been arrested for vandalism. Just think of it. Think of the dull daily routine into which our lives will plummet. Think of the day we'll stop going out without the children. Think of the evenings sitting in front of the TV and never speaking to each other. Think of the passive-aggressive verbal jabs we'll poke at each other. Think of the moment we'll forget what we saw in each other in the first place. Think of the screaming arguments our children will overhear when they're in bed. Think of the slamming doors and hurled plates. Think of the silent treatments and insincere apologies. Think of the therapy bills our children will pay. Just think of it. Think of the night I'll catch you receiving cunnilingus from my brother's weightlifting trainer. Think of the condescending tone you'll adopt to mock my sexual inadequacy. Think of the tiny basement apartment into which I'll move. Think of the vicious, exhausting court battle we'll prolong for months. Think of the enormous legal bills and time wasted. Think of the way we'll make our children choose which of us they love more. Think of the friends we'll lose and the gossip they'll share. Think of the size my belly will grow as I just stop caring. Think of the botched plastic surgery that'll symbolize your desperate drive to stay young. Just think of it. Think of the thousands of lonely nights of TV dinners and masturbation. Think of the chronic online stalking of old high school crushes. Think of the, oh, you're leaving? I suppose you need more time to think. Well, I'll be waiting here with this beautiful tungsten wedding ring. A life together. Just think of it. Thank you. Again, that was called An Honest Proposal.
Thank you, Jeff. I was going to say, I wonder if she said yes, but maybe the answer was in the poem. Thank you very much. Okay, and our next poet is Nikki Kazamatis. Nikki, let me just get you up. There you are. Nikki's an educator and poetry for well-being practitioner. She's based in Brisbane. When she's not teaching, she loves to work, sharing the joy and healing power of the humble and perhaps not so humble poem. She's 3 chapbooks published under her pseudonym Veronica Cassiani and creates poetry art to appeal to broad audiences. Thanks, Nikki.
Thank you, Rose. I honestly couldn't decide, so I've decided to read tonight's poem. based on a fangirl experience, literarily speaking, from a few years back when I was visiting the UK. And it's called His Nib. Larger than life, that lion, Aslan, his name, just a fraction smaller than my imagination, his world, but his heartbeat forged by ink in the blink of a midnight eye, in the confines of a study, small and humble, so unlike the name. Holding that pen, I got to hold that pen. His desk, so nondescript, I'd wonder if the magic actually lived in those there drawers. It had a hobbit-sized doorway and a magic exit, this room come study. A steep and narrow staircase directly to the outside world with, I dare say, a lamppost or two to guide him back to that nib. Thank you.
Thanks, Nikki. Really enjoyed listening to that. Very much appreciated. Okay, now next poet is Helen Jarvis. Helen, here you are. Excellent. Helen's poetry is drawn from life and from a love of lyric forms and older stories. How wonderful. Her writing has won the Nillumbik Poetry Ekphrasis Award and the Ada Cambridge Prize for Poetry and Biographical Nonfiction, and has been shortlisted for prizes including the ACU, MPU and Martha Richardson Awards. She lives and teaches in Melbourne's western suburbs, which makes her my close neighbour. Thank you, Helen. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rose, and thank you to all the poets tonight. Fabulous work. I'm going to read one which is called Losing the Bees. Tipped on its back, the bee waggles itself further into sand. It's damp, its frayed wings folded. Gummed back, they quiver. I find a pebble, small apian arc, turn the bee gingerly, move it to dry tussock grass. It shakes the clogging shingle from its wings. My mother never liked to share her garden with the bees. They lurked in flap of wind-dried sheets. She gathered them in. Blinded in self-defense, they'd sting her hands with kamikaze venom. My father was unscathed. In the shed, propped on a step, I'd crane to see him raise the heavy lid. Maddened, that great thrum of busyness would rise, audible through the pain. Bees scattered, skirled around my veiled father. Squirting smoke to gentle the mob, he'd lift the wooden frames. Sweet waxen cells crusted with honey like upturned gaudy spires. Winter and snow. Death fell softly on the hive. We woke to wet air, cold inward breaths. Crisp snow frayed the curved branches of the monkey puzzle, a good inch of it coating the grass, bearing faint tracks of birds, all clean and undisturbed and not yet turned to slush. Snow did for them. My father never knew the threat, lifted the chilly lid to find their still furred bodies piled, tiny insect corpses littering the floor, the snow a lethal spigot plugging up the door. The guilt, horror of frail wings stilled. We understand the risk, unthinkable those last times. Panic of massed din rising, a crawling lethargy in the hive, collective slump into silence, chill of extinction from gold to black.
Thank you very much, Helen. Yeah, much appreciated. Thank you. Now, Alex Scovron, I think we have Alex here. Is that correct? Alex, are you ready to read the next poem? Alex hardly needs any introduction. He's one of our best known poets here in Melbourne, and we're very pleased to have him read tonight in the open mic. Thanks, Alex.
I'll just get my book.
Oh, that'd be good. Okay, this is called Seeing the Poet in Action.
I wasn't sure what I was going to be reading today, so
Oh, okay, excellent.
thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Alex.
I thought I might fit in with the theme, obviously, and read a poem, a prose poem of mine, which is called Dance. Ah, tree. Street afternoon quivers on tentacles of light, conjures the glimmer of a thing suddenly strange. Drop a thought shutter, keep it strange, so the mere moment can sing. Cleanse memory of all meanings of tree, envision, apperceive, how it could shock an otherworldly guest, attuned to stern geometry, how it might prod the sub-earthen twistings of some floundering guilt, how it offers too this joyance of repose, tree truth, those slantings of smoky textured light. Now, say again, meanings of tree. Go on, say treescape, sky tree, canopy. The skull's labyrinths, the blood's arterial metropolis, sap chart, ancestor tree, the sempiternal seed, all the treeness of things, their treedom. Now reconstruct the first touch of tree, a trunk that frayed, bark that bled, a branch that broke, ruckus of the excoriated stick rattling on fence rails as it ran, scrapings of the sharp-ended stick, repatterning wet sand as it walked. Recall stick talisman, stick whip, sword stick, see stick in the mud to hang a hat, stake in the grass to block a spot, wand stick to strike a spell, cane stick to cross a rickety bridge. Let the shutter stick. Ah, yes, all those slantings of tree light are scrawled in cement figure 8, a stick figure house, home, family, tree. Go back, down on one knee. Assemble an album of collected leaves, each one a map, a season's color chart. Pencil a forest map with winding ways, a tree house, childhood's mysterious chance. How long upon memory has it stood, become lost again in that other world, paper world, that 100-acre wood? Look, stretch 2 arms into the sky and dance. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for a fabulous evening and wonderful poetry. And congratulations, Anne and Shari.
Thank you, Alex. That was really, really so apt and wonderful to have it as part of the evening. Okay, I thought I couldn't sort of resist, and I might just read a tree poem myself. We're so caught up and inspired in the theme. So I know I usually have the MC hat on, but just for a final poem of the evening, here is a poem from my collection, This Shuttered Eye, which was published last year. It's called There Is a Tree. There is a tree whose roots reach tenacious into layers of sift, a fibrous tangle, a loving and a lapping of threads that search out through murmuring grains of darkness and congregations of organism. Sometimes even an unexpected emergence into light, or not. What is below the crust of the visible supports it, feeding the eye's cartography, the life that is lived in the complexity of leaves, turning with the roll of the planet, the uncertainty of the wind. Plaited into place, there has always been more than can be held in a single mind. Its limited capacity for seeing patterns, humbled by the breathing of the treed world. Open hands, fingers, voice, wide weave of twine and touch, unthreading, filigree root, texture of bark, a seed, ready, now cracking in fire.